Now that we've talked a little bit about the circle of influence, let me start again. Now that we've talked a little bit about your circle of control, I want to talk about how you can shape that circle of control and apply it to improving your circle of influence and your reputation. Your reputation should precede you wherever you go. It influences how other people deal with you before they've even met you, before you even get there. They should already have cultivated a bit of an opinion about you based on your reputation. It is so easy these days with our internet and various different social media outlets to be able to get information about everyone you meet in life. And so the 6 degrees of separation is fast becoming more like 3 degrees of separation, given our ability to reach out and learn more about people just at the press of the button. It takes a lifetime to build a really good reputation and only a second to destroy it. So when we're talking about reputation, you've first got to establish what is your product, because you can't just be a jack of all trades. You need to specialize in something, and particularly in the fitness industry, it's important that you specialize in something that also culminates with your passions. That way, you have a real driving force behind your product, and then you will attract people who are interested in working with you for your sole abilities or your subject matter. You're a subject matter expert in a particular field, and so people will be drawn to you for that. If you're unsure about what is your product, it takes a little bit of time to develop it, and so it takes a little bit of time for you to get in and really work out what it is you enjoy, and that may change throughout your career. You might start off having a real passion for one thing and move on to something else. My advice is to follow your curiosities and to learn as much as you can and keep your interests fresh. Remain a student for as long as possible. It will change as you grow, and it constantly is in a state of refinement. So you're always refining what it is you're good at and what it is your product is, and that's just a really healthy way to maintain a business. And you must really believe in your own product. You can't sell something that you don't believe in, because people can tell fabrication straight away. You've got to be genuinely interested in what it is you're doing, and when you are really genuinely interested in what you're doing, it's not a sales pitch. All of a sudden it just turns into something that you're talking about that is genuinely your passion, and people will always be drawn to that. One of the things as personal trainers we forget to do is listen, because we're so busy talking to our client about what they should do, how they should act, how they should eat, how they should train. Sometimes we forget to take the time to just listen, but the thing about listening is that it's the most important thing to do when you're building genuine rapport with someone. The kindest thing you can do to someone is to sit and listen to them for 30 minutes when you should be having lunch break. And so one of the tricks to listening well, or to being a good listener, is to ask lots of questions. Asking questions and being genuinely interested in what the person has to reply with is one of the best ways to make your client or anyone in your life feel important. And also to approach things with humility. So it's really important to try and understand your client before seeking to be understood. It's really important that you genuinely try to understand where they're coming from and what their roadblocks to success are before you can start offering or suggesting some solutions for them. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. That's a quote by Benjamin Franklin. And so criticizing other people shows that you are weak and small-minded. Condemning others shows that you have no humility or wisdom, and complaining shows that you're not in control of your universe, and that gets back to your circle of control. If you're complaining, if you're the master of your own universe, then you've got nothing to complain about, because you put yourself in a situation. Sir Walter Raleigh said, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still," which just goes back to that first point. You really do need to listen to other people before you offer your advice, because no matter how good your argument is, even if you manage to convince somebody at that meeting, oftentimes they'll go away referring straight back to their original thought, which you've just spent 20 minutes trying to convince them is incorrect. So the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it, and it's so much more powerful to try and understand the other person and approach the situation with some acceptance and humility. And of course, Gandhi's famous quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Sometimes arguing with somebody else about what they should be doing, how they should be acting, is not nearly as powerful as just embodying what your beliefs are. And then of course people will see your success, live vicariously through your success, and then they'll come to you and they'll want to know what it is you're doing. And that of course comes back to leading by example. It is true, particularly in the personal training world, that every interaction is a sale or a negotiation, particularly when we're in the gym environment, particularly when we're chatting with and coercing with other members and potential members and clients. And of course, when I say sale or negotiation, I want you guys to appreciate that sale is not a dirty word. In fact, most interactions in our lives could be referred to as a negotiation. Just talking about which restaurant you prefer to go to with your wife sometimes can turn into a pretty heavy negotiation. And if you're good, then you typically will go to the restaurant that you prefer. That's not necessarily to say that you won't occasionally go to your wife's favourite restaurant as well, but it is important to know how to negotiate if you're going to have any sort of success in business. So your success in life hinges on your ability to have a positive outcome. In relationships, in child raising, in selling your product and in running a business, all the way down to negotiating a lease and speaking with suppliers. Having abilities in the realms of negotiation are really important, and so those are certainly things that in this industry we need to learn and cultivate. Your reputation is your brand. You can lie with your mouth but not with your actions, and so you must conduct your own conduct must be exemplary at all times, because the truth about you will always surface. And so if you're on the one hand selling health and well-being, and on the other hand, not looking after yourself, then that will surface very quickly and it will be recognised that you're a bit of a fraud. And so your reputation really is it cannot be fabricated, and it's something that you really need to live. And in the personal training world, that is, could not be truer than anything in the health and fitness world. So you need to, every obstacle and hardship is an opportunity to improve your reputation, and this all ties back to your character. So some of the measurable outcomes from today's from today's lecture is for us to talk a little bit about your circle of control, and that would include to learn some of the basic principles of self-development. I've found over the years that reading books and doing seminars in this area is really important. As I mentioned earlier, some of my favourite books are 7 Habits to Highly Effective People. Another one I really enjoy is a book called The Happiness Advantage. I found it really powerful writing a personal mission statement for myself. I found that I've changed my personal mission statement over the last 5 or 6 years, but it's changed when I had children. All of a sudden I added father to the list. You know, things change as your life changes and evolves, and so it's important that that document is dynamic and that you're constantly referring to it and amending it. Excuse me. I like to outline the 4 quadrants of importance and write down some of my to-do lists, and then assign them to different quadrants, and that I find is a really powerful way for me to structure my day, my week, my month, in terms of tasks that I have to do to move forward with my business. And I really like to refer back to this growth mindset. Sometimes it's easy to rest on your laurels, and I find when you're challenging yourself and you're getting out of your comfort zone is the time when you grow the most and achieve the most. And so going back to the growth mindset, I find whenever I'm faced with a challenge or an opportunity to fail, I attack it now, and it's really important to continue to do that if I'm going to continue to advance in my life and in my business. And to do with the circle of influence, I think it's important that you learn how to develop and refine your product and your personal brand. It's something that we're always doing, and people who do really well in the personal training industry are the people who manage to synergize their passions with their product, the service that they're selling, and then synergize that with the market. So work out what it is I enjoy, how I can turn that into a product, and then who in the market would be interested in purchasing that from me. And I think in the health industry, it's really important to be able to constantly go back. And one more point that I'll say on that is if you can always think 6 to 8 months ahead. If you're only ever looking at what is hot now, or what is attractive now, you may find that by the time you develop that into a product and start selling it, that it is last year's news or it is an antiquated product. So I try and look at what's going to be interesting 6 months time from now, 8 months time from now, and I find that's a really positive way of developing product development, service development. I like to write all of this stuff down. I feel like just thinking about it's not enough. It's really important to solidify your thoughts into a page. And I like to write out the features and benefits of my product. I like to sit down and work out what it is about my product that's that's a really important feature that I can talk about when I'm speaking to my clients. What it is that's a benefit to my clients, so I can always refer to things to the you, what's going to improve for you, how things are going to help you. And of course, I like to articulate my point of difference, which comes back to the why I do things, what my story is, why I'm here doing what I do, and I find people really identify with that. There's an old saying, people don't buy your product, they buy you. They buy your story, they buy your presence. And then I like to really sit down and try and ascertain or outline who is my target market. And I find once I synergize all of those things together, my business really starts to flourish. Some of the references for the books that I've spoken about today during our lecture is Mindset by Carol Dweck. We spoke a little bit about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. The Go-Giver by David Mann and Bob Burr is a terrific book on this topic. And of course, The Happiness Advantage by Sean Hancock. When it comes to business, some of the books I really enjoy, The Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman, Great by Choice by Jim Collins is a particular favourite of mine, Street Smarts by Norm Bromsky, and Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. Really appreciate you guys spending the time to listen to me this morning, and thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed my lecture.